On today's Minute of the Apes, we started an entire conversation that we need to actually say for the in-between about child actors to adult actors.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time. I'm Todd. It's Richard and Sean across from me. It's Minute 2. Happy Minute 2 Day. So,
Tuesday.
Let's start off right away. Sean, tell us what's going on with Minute 2.
All right, we're going to start Minute 2 with Red Baron 5 saying for 45 minutes and ends with us as viewers in a Jeep following 4 other cars.
All right, here we go with Minute 2 of Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
For 45 minutes, and we'll squawk 7,700 for a radar fix.
Roger. Rescue, I have Red Baron 5 report a possible spacecraft offshore, southeast sector Alpha Charlie. Immediately launch chopper, effect pickup and recovery. Base radar will vector.
All right, as of Minute 2, it looks like we have what appears to be 2 humans.
So that count comes off as the least exciting count you've had yet because it's
We got 2
humans.
people, maybe humans. I don't know.
All right. I want to toss out again that because I bashed so much of the way that Beneath was shot that already, again, we get so many great shots of things. We even see the shadows of the
aircraft,
Yeah, just engaging. We're in the moment. This film is shot smartly. Now, what I need to do, I just thought of this, is I want to look at how long the shooting schedule was for Beneath as compared to this. This was
They had
roughly
more
3
time,
months.
yeah.
I wonder if it's just scripting, if it's smarter shooting, etc. Because the other, it just never felt like they were being smart with what they did.
Yeah. No, I know it's not, but the guy that's on the other end of the radio from the helicopter pilot, he looks like George Hamilton.
That's what I thought, too. I was like, is that George Hamilton? I really did.
Yeah, okay. It wasn't just me then.
I was like, oh,
And I
hey.
know you told us this movie is supposed to take place in 1973, but this is the point where it told me that it was a modern film because you're seeing modern clothes, modern in 1970s terms, technology, all that kind of stuff. So I'm assuming that it's modern Earth, and so tomorrow my count will be adjusted to be we have a planet full of humans,
Right.
and whatever comes up after that.
We're now getting a little back and forth that the audience heard. You know, we finish up with Red Baron 5 saying 45 minute squawk, 7,700 something radar fix. And then we cut to a kind of a control room where we've got the guy, Richard,
George
Hamilton, talking into 2 different microphones because you need 2 different microphones and picking up a phone and the people around him watching radars. And he's also just kind of so nonplussed.
Yeah, that is literally the note I have in here. Again, unless people were expecting this craft, they are very nonplussed about it. I use that exact
And I
same
think
word.
that going back to what Sean and I said, if you just have these people develop urgency of, were you expecting this? What's this? Why is this here? You know, anything like that where they're questioning it, it only builds more suspense for us, and they miss that opportunity.
Yeah, its transponder signal matches X, but that's impossible.
There you go. Transponder signal would have been brilliant.
Yeah.
That's what they should.
Rescue. I have Red Baron 5 report of a possible spacecraft washed ashore in the southwest sector of Alpha Charlie. I'm sorry, possible spacecraft. I'm like, what the wouldn't you?
You know those
Oh.
You know those kids just walking across the beach. Spaceships are just washing ashore all the time. Damn it!
I mean, this is still an era where spacecraft would be like
A big deal. I mean, we're not that far out from landing on the moon.
Well, it's also 1973. We also had we were also just coming off of Vietnam and the Korea Wars, and something unique like that would be I would have scrambled troops, and well, we're about to, but I would have scrambled like fighters or something, because like, is it a spacecraft?
Is it American? Is it Russian?
Is it a missile? Is it a torpedo? Submarine?
We only landed on the moon 4 years before this.
And to your point, that's a good point. And to your point, Richard, what we will see in the coming minutes about what the troops come out, there's no immediate need for the troops to come out because they've not built the urgency of why we need to
You're right.
attack.
Be worried about this craft. Yeah.
I mean, the helicopter pilot When he calls in, the duty officer specifically says, rescue. I have Red Baron 5. So clearly they're going to send out a rescue to this location, right? Not a, we have potential threat. There's no sense of alarm. We just, hey, there's this thing floating off the side of the ocean. What are we going to do now, guys?
And again, we are nitpicking this because this still does such a better job of building a moment than the previous film ever did, because really nothing is immediately explained. We only get bits of information, and every bit of information only adds further what's going on. And maybe to that extent, maybe it's more interesting, at least they thought, that they didn't over-explain it. They didn't get into it. That maybe that sent that cloud of uncertainty.
And I know we've talked, and I know you're going to say something here in a second, Richard. We've talked about kind of this before. With a good scene, you always get in late and leave early. Right, so if we had the Earth blowing up and people in a ship and then the ship crashes, that's just laying track. We don't need to know that. We know a ship has crashed because it's in the ocean. So we can cut all that stuff out, get in late with everybody showing up, and then they're not really going to get out early at this minute.
So 20 seconds in, we now see the helicopter that actually has the really bad sticker on the side that says rescue. It's in yellow and it's in red. It's very obvious. I mean, it's
starting to peel off.
It's a green chopper that says United States Marines on the side. It's got the number 47069, I think, up in the top. 69. And then there's just kind of pasted on rescue on the side that they needed to kind of to dress this up. It's also necessary because in a later shot, when we see it from a distance, you can still see that sticker on there.
Right.
I think that was necessary because it makes it stand out.
But that is a fantastic shot of that rescue helicopter. When we're talking about that they shot the other stuff on the ground looking up, that is obviously a helicopter tracking a helicopter. So you've got the helicopter and they're flying, and they are flying fast.
They are.
And it sets the stage, which again, that we know, we see the waters just below it. So we know, that's when you stage those shots, that always seems so obvious. Mm-hmm. But if you don't put the water there, we don't know where that thing's flying. Yeah. But we know the immediate urgency because it's the water where we've seen the spacecraft and it's just zooming across.
And what I do find, or one of the notes I do have about this is that from the point at which, Red Baron 5 calls into control, to the point that this helicopter shows up that says rescue on it, I assume we've moved forward a little bit in time because the end of this minute also has Jeeps arriving. So there's been a little bit of a time jump in this moment. We didn't have to sit there and wait for a little bit for this to scramble and happen. We've just kind of moved within a minute. Although there's potential 45 minutes from when they were out.
In some ways, this movie does feel like a real-time documentary of how to rescue a spaceship because they're showing the helicopter come out. Everybody drives up and eventually everybody dismounts and all that kind of stuff.
But at least when everybody drives up and whatnot, once again, great freaking shots. They're low angle shots that give that urgency, and there are little off kilter as things approach. Even when the frogmen, which, oh my God, I love frogmen. As a little boy, I had a G.I. Joe with a frogman suit. And so even when I saw that, the little boy in me went, ooh. But it's so exciting because even that, when they jump out, is interestingly composed because it's not just a flat shot. It's a slightly upward. So we see them going down. Everything about it is right.
25 seconds into it, we begin to see the caravan of Jeeps come in that have military personnel inside of it. That seem to be about 4 per Jeep. 30 seconds in is when we have the rescue helicopter show up with the original Red Baron 5. Rescue is coming in from the left and Red Baron 5 is coming in from the right. And they appear to be in really close proximity to each other. For helicopters, we have a shot of the ship down in the bottom, on the surface of the water, which now actually looks superimposed now that I actually have the shot freeze framed. Mm-hmm. It doesn't look like it's actually floating in there. It looks unreal. Maybe.
Well, let's say you shared with Sean. You got to turn your computer and share with me now. It does a little bit.
It does look like it's just not really in that set of water. Like it's just kind of superimposed on there.
But I would almost seriously doubt that that's what it is. If they've already put it in the water.
Yeah.
That they would spend the money to composite something like that. But you're absolutely right. It doesn't look like it's. It makes me wonder if they didn't adhere it to the bottom of the ocean floor so it wouldn't float. And perhaps it's buoyed above the water to an extent.
To certain levels, yeah. So 35 seconds in, we get another tight shot of the ship after the helicopters have passed by. And, maybe from the standpoint of we think about what was common at this moment in talking about what was in film and TV in terms of war and army and production, this may just seem like kind of a straightforward way of doing this. This may have been kind of normal. They didn't want to bring in the unusual, or the opening astronauts, or the tension at the beginning, because they wanted this just to seem like a normal kind of military rescue operation, just something very matter of fact, so that when we do get the reveal in a little bit, there's a lot more what?
Yeah, and okay, so the open-ended idea of what Heston was initially supposed to go out to do, to colonize with one woman. Were they ever supposed to return? That could have...
I mean, yeah.
Was it open-ended? They could come back, and was that why they're so nonplussed or blasé about this whole thing, yet they show up with military efforts? Because when you take a Apollo craft out, it's a helicopter going and pulling it up, and they take it to a battleship.
Or not, but a cruiser.
A cruiser, yeah. And so you take it to that. But this one definitely has military aspects to it.
Yeah, that's something that we've talked about in the past movies. We don't know what the exact mission was and why Brent was sent to get Taylor. I mean, were they supposed to come back? Do they have because Taylor made it sound like we're in the future, everybody else is dead, this is our job now.
All right.
And Brent made it sound like I'm coming to rescue Taylor.
All right, so there's a little bit of a back and forth exchange that was cut. After the duty officer finishes his phone call with Red Baron 5, he's supposed to pick up a second phone and calls the colonel. And he says, "The colonel, please." And they're supposed to jump to the colonel's garden. The colonel, among friends, is barbecuing a steak on the lawn of his private quarters as the garden phone rings beside him. The roar of the OS helicopters passing overhead and the nature of the phone message itself distract him from the steak, which, during the brief conversation's course, is burnt to a cinder as the helicopters recede. "Colonel, I didn't even know we had anything up. Okay, I'll call Washington." He looks at the burnt steak and says, "Damn." Then we jump to the 3-star General Brody, who stands up against a wall map of a splashdown area and barks into a phone. "No serial number. Well, it must have been burned down on re-entry." "No, neither did I. I'll check with Deputy Director NASA and call you back." He cuts the call to initiate the Chopper 1, and then we cut to the frogmen, who at this point, at 45, 46 seconds, are now jumping into the water of the spacecraft. So I have a question, and I have to say my memory's a little fuzzy on this. Did the 1973 indication date, based upon the stuff we know in the script, are they before the launch?
I don't think so. I think these are supposed to have taken place after. Otherwise, Brent and Taylor would still be on Earth. And
well, then him saying I didn't know we had anything up. I didn't know we had anything, up in the sky.
Well, I'm assuming Brent and Taylor have already gone, so that's why he's surprised that there's another ship here for some reason.
Well, that it would have come back.
Yeah.
Maybe it's even that those weren't supposed to come back, and they don't.
Right.
There's, maybe that's where his uncertainty comes from.
I didn't even know we had anything up.
Yeah. Because I'm looking at something, and the ship time, I think, was 1973. So they've established that 1973 is when they left, and they're coming back. So without it being dates, they don't tell the specific date that they came back.
Yeah, because we never really officially established, was there an accident that brought them both to the future, Brent and Taylor, or was it on purpose?
Well, that Hassan curve is what they hit that flung them into the future. Hassan curve. I guess my question is, they recognize the ship as being one of theirs. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have any serial numbers on it. Mm-hmm. And again, this is all based upon dialogue in the script, but the idea that they don't have anything up kind of threw me off just a little bit. It made me question whether the ship is now gone before the original launches.
That's an interesting idea. I need
to look it up because it's a possibility we could determine when
true.
Taylor and Brent's ship were originally taken off. If that's the case, then this spaceship will look like something they do. They do not look in this helicopter as technologically advanced as the stuff we saw on the spaceship in 1 and 2.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying.
I also found myself intrigued by what you said, that the markings on the ship. Why somebody didn't say what are the markings? So that's another obvious question they could have asked too, that at least establishes. But then again, if we go along with yours, maybe that ship has never existed. Essentially.
Well, essentially, I mean, maybe that's why they took that part out. It looks like it took like one of our spacecrafts. We don't even have anything up right now.
I have the feeling that maybe we're turning Planet of the Apes into a stoner game, because it seems like this is seriously, did it exist or didn't it exist?
Yeah. So then we get the divers down in the water. One of them tosses probably a life raft down there. 3 divers jump in, I think, in this minute. There's at least 2 that jump in, maybe 3. Yeah, there's the third one.